Hey friends, you're watching Brainstorm Acres. I'm Henry.
And I'm Irene.
We just got home late last night.
Yep. We were gone for almost a week at an event down in the Phoenix area, and we got back last night. Boy, was it nice to have central heating again.
Well, central heating as much as we have central heating. We do have the pellet stove, which, believe me, in comparison to what we had down south, was really, really nice.
Well, we knew it was going, the forecast now, you know how reliable forecasts have been this year. The forecast was we were going to have cold weather. Down anywhere between 44 and 40 most nights. I think it hit a little colder than that one night, but
Get down to 38 degrees, so it's a little on the chilly side.
Yeah. But we have plenty of long johns and wool socks and extra comforters and stuff like that for our bed. But we brought a heater with us, of course.
Which worked fine up here, worked fine when I tested it down there, and when
we went to go use it, worked for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and then stopped.
So I have yet another thing to fix, and you may recall right before we left, I had a problem with first the water tank up the hill, some piping up there, and then some issues down in the utility building.
Right.
There were 3 leaks in the utility building that happened as a consequence of a variety of factors, and I'm now down to 1. Fortunately, it doesn't look like the check valve is a problem. So it's been holding just fine. We'll see.
We'll see. Because we were driving the truck, we decided we would stop at Ye Old Home Despot on the way home and pick up some 10-foot lengths of PVC.
So we have some 2-inch and some 1.25 and some 3/4 inch.
Right.
So that if we need to repair much of anything that requires pipe, we're all set. I don't really need a 10-foot stick of 2-inch pipe. There's only about 4 feet of it in the utility building.
Right.
But the reason why we picked it up is because things can go wrong, and when things go wrong, they can go wrong fast.
Well, and the fact is we used to keep quite a bit of PVC pipe on hand, and we've used it up.
Well, we still have quite a lot, but
it'll always be the wrong size. So we just get a selection so that there's no question about, is this piece been sitting out in the sun too long or anything else like that. We got a new stock of stuff in and some other odd bits and pieces. I picked up some glue, and that way there's no drama associated with that, at least.
Now I've been down to pick up Isa, our cat. Where did you put the pipe?
Oh, it's still in the truck. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, no, I left it in there.
I just shut the door so that we wouldn't have rodents or other things get in.
Right. Yeah, I did. Henry started the laundry festival this morning because you always have, we didn't have much left at home that hadn't been washed. That was in great shape. But, you wear clothes for a week, and, well, there's extra clothes. There's long johns, and there's extra pairs of wool socks, and the sheets, and all the stuff from that bed, because we set up a bed down there, and, towels, and anything we use down there. So that's now all sitting in the laundry room. He started the laundry festival this morning. I did a couple more tubs this afternoon, plus ran the dishwasher twice. Still have probably a few more things that will surface as I sort boxes, because we like to double wash the stuff that we use at events, because sometimes you either miss something or it just doesn't get quite as clean as you'd like to because you're camping.
The leaks in the utility building aren't real big.
They're drips.
It was dripping, when I first started, it was dripping about once every 10 or 15 seconds, and now it looks like it's down to about once a minute. But that's still too much, because I don't want that much moisture in the utility building, so I'll be taking that apart tomorrow.
Right.
I have all the fittings, all the pipe, everything that's necessary to do that repair. So that'll be sometime tomorrow. No, by the way, tomorrow I have to go back down to Prescott to pick some other things up.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that they kept the cat's bed blanket, and also I think unless there was a bag I didn't notice in there, They kept the rest of our wet food and the lid that goes on the wet food.
No, so I have to go back down. I just didn't know exactly what had gone with her because we didn't really talk about that. And I didn't recall what was in the cat carrier when Irene
I always
delivered the
put
cat
some sort
carrier
of
to
a towel or something. It's not, no, it's not of any huge value, but this is the second one in a row they've kept, and I'm going to run out of old towels at this rate, so I'd like to get her old towel back.
So what did you do at the event?
Oh, what did I do at the event? We saw a ton of people. So far, there's only one person I can think of that I still haven't remembered their name. It was funny because some of these people we haven't seen in 8 or 10 years, and you're sitting there and you're having a great conversation. I know who you are. I know where you used to live. I could probably still get to your house, but I can't remember your name. So, but we had a great time. We saw a ton of people that we haven't seen in forever. It was a very successful event in terms of attendance was decent. I mean, whenever you start a new event, which is effectively what they've done, hey, off the table, you knew better.
Ow.
Sorry.
That hurt.
Collateral damage.
Primary damage.
She's not allowed on the tables. Anyway.
This site was really interesting because it was down by the Phoenix International Raceway.
Right.
It has a very large, well-designed parking areas for vehicles to park on.
Right.
Because if you have 65,000 people capacity, you need to have some place for them to park.
Right, and a whole bunch of people will come down for the big NASCAR things down there and stay with these big fancy schmancy RVs and stuff like that. So we knew when we knew what the place was and where it was, and then we got to see videos, that the drainage would not be a problem.
Well, by way of a little bit of history, an event that used to happen at this time of year was discontinued by a previous regime in our area for really good reason, because for the 7 years before, every year there was a major problem with rain or mud or something like that.
And the last 2 years in a row were bad enough that they had to let us stay late because you couldn't get a truck in to get your stuff out.
And we got our truck in, but we couldn't get it out.
Right. So, you know, it had gotten to the point where nobody wanted to go because, you know, you come home filthy, covered with mud, and it takes you months. And I bet if I looked closely, I could still find some mud from that location.
We still have mud.
Yeah. And I mean, I've washed boxes and everything else. I had high water marks on the boxes from the flooding.
Even Jack's crate that we keep him in, or we kept him in when we were at events, had mud on it. We found the high point in the shop, and then we put 2x4s underneath it and
it put the
brought him up out of the water. There's still mud everywhere, all over the place.
You know, so we've spent a lot of time over the years removing mud, and the concept that we wouldn't have to do that this year really appealed.
Well, we got there, and we were having light rain.
Right.
And unfortunately, my color vision isn't exactly what it ought to be for seeing, I don't know whether it's orange or red.
They were orange. They used orange stripes to mark. Usually most places use white. But that is a really light tan dirt. So they figured that orange would work better.
Except when it gets wet, and then it's orange.
Well,
orange-like.
Well, the problem is also, I don't know if you noticed how when people were driving on it, it was coming up because the tires were wet, so it was peeling the paint off the ground.
Right.
But we got there early, found our space, no problem, set up, had a great time seeing friends and all that kind of stuff.
How were sales?
Sales were good. Sales were good. Our goal was to basically do okay. We weren't expecting, because it's a small event in comparison to the big ones.
If we just broke even, that would have been okay.
Yeah, but we did better than that. So that's excellent, because we have a lot of things that need to be repaired around here, so that's a good thing.
Fortunately, most of the things that have to be repaired are inexpensive pieces, but I have a couple of expensive parts to pick up tomorrow.
Yeah, and we have to replace a couple of roofs too. So that's. They're not that hard for us to do. We will do them without any problem, but we may need some new decking on one of the roofs. We could even need decking on 2 of the roofs for all we know. We won't know till we rip the roofs off.
We might need it on 3 of the roofs.
Yeah, and So that's just sort of that annoyance sort of thing. So the more we can make it an event like this, the better. I've got at least one person who wants a custom order. I have to work up a price for her and let her know what it'll be.
The oddest thing sold at this event, well, in comparison to the purchasing habits in the past,
Right.
people were buying all over the place. And I'm not complaining about that, are you?
Well, no, I mean, they bought well, but there are things that I don't usually sell that much of that I sold a bunch of. And then there were other things that I usually sell a bunch of that I didn't sell any of.
Right.
So it was kind of awkward, but it was the same way last fall. And I think it's a lot of it's because we have different people playing now. We have a lot of new people in the organization. Some of them are not. I had to do a lot of explanations. A lot of people are not educated enough to know what I'm selling. So I did a lot of education, which is something I usually do.
Now, when you're saying education, you're talking about the period use of the period reproductions that you've made.
Right, well, also how to use them. I mean, like, people might know what a specific type of brooch is, but they don't actually how to use it physically. So I would show people if they were buying a big brooch, I'd show them with a small brooch because I could use a small brooch on my underdress and easily pin it in and show people how it worked. Did a lot of that, and also did a lot of explanations of decorative pieces that would be appropriate for Anglo-Saxons and Vikings and stuff like that, that these people were clue-free. Totally clue-free.
Now, one of the things that I think we both agreed to is that we've been buying some Bauer toolboxes that snap together. They can stack and they work pretty well. And I think that we both agree that they are something we want to continue using.
Yeah, we experimented with a couple. The one that the batteries that you made.
Yeah, I have a 100 amp hour battery with the charger and the battery management system.
And a little extra space in there for odd bits and pieces.
And I have an inverter. A lot of things that can make it really useful in these camping environments.
Right, because we have, 2 phones, my hearing aids, my watch, the iPad mini for doing credit card processing, and then we have a bigger iPad that sometimes we will watch YouTube videos on if we have the time.
We didn't have time this time.
No, not really. But it was with us anyway. And it could also be used as a fallback position if something else were to happen to one of the other pieces of equipment.
Yeah, you may notice that we have kind of a common theme in our approach to things. We have the backup to the backup to the backup. So both of our phones can be used to run credit cards. The iPad mini can be used. The iPad can be used. I suppose if we had to, we could use a computer. I know we could.
Yeah, it'd just be a real pain because some of this stuff wouldn't probably not connect correctly.
But, hey, what are you going to do tomorrow while I'm busy driving again?
Well, let's see. I was working on my newsletter a little bit today because I found a couple of articles while I was cleaning out my email because I'm checking for certain notifications and stuff. I did get one of them, and because we're getting ready for an event that will happen Memorial Day weekend, and they're doing it differently this year. I had to register the shop, which includes me, but then I have to wait till general registration is open to do Henry's registration. So they just opened that. I got an email on that, so I just took care of that this afternoon, and I should have the PayPal invoice, which I will pay, and that will get his registration done.
Too much work.
Yeah, really. I'm also going to have a conversation, a come to Jesus meeting, as we say, with the state of Pennsylvania tomorrow about their failure to send me the letter that they promised me.
The real problem is that when we go to these different locations, different states, counties, cities, wherever it happens to be,
licenses.
There's a licensing requirement, and because we didn't go to Pennsylvania for 2 years during the pandemic.
Well, what they did was they updated the system.
You kind of ran out of room because they changed the system yet again.
The problem is that California is changing their system, But they've been doing it very gradually over the course of multiple years. So I had what they call quick access passwords, but I also have all the other stuff taken care of and in place. Pennsylvania said as of November, they weren't going to let you use the system anymore. I didn't need to use it in November. I got around to using it at the very beginning of January and went through to do all the registration. It should be easy. I'm already in their old system. We should be able to just port that over to the new system.
Doesn't work.
Well, it didn't work. So then you have to go fill out all this extra paperwork online. And I fill it all out, and they want the amount that I paid for taxes the last time I paid taxes. But it has to be within a certain number of years.
And that's what I meant when I said you ran out of time.
And the problem is, because I wasn't there for 2 years, I have what they call a transient permit, which means I don't live there, I just come through a couple times a year. And I only have to file twice a year. So because of that, my last taxes that I paid is too old.
More than 5 quarters, right?
Yes, something like that. Anyway, so I was just like, okay. So they're saying, well, if this system doesn't work for you, and you can't provide any of these other things, and I tried providing everything else, and they wouldn't accept any of it. Now I'm sitting there holding my state license from Pennsylvania in my hand while I'm doing this, so that I have all the paperwork from ever with me in a folder right there with my brand new state license that they just sent me, because they always send me a new one in December, because they want my money. And not that I want to give it to them, but I do want to comply with the regulations for filing in a timely fashion and stuff like that. So, yeah, so I none of that would work. So they're like, okay, then fill this out, and we will mail you a letter in 5 to 10 days.
No arpege.
No arpege. Nothing came in the mail. And we were hoping that when we got back from the event, there would be something.
It should have been. Is longer than the time that they said the longest period of time could be for them to get the letter to her.
Right, and usually Pennsylvania is good. They usually get me stuff spot on. But I suspect I'm not the only person in the world who's having problems with their new supportative system there. So, yeah. So I have to call them tomorrow and sit on the phone for however long with my phone plugged in so that it won't run out of juice, and get them to straighten it out.
But you know, one thing that went really right for us in the last week? Yavapai County and Blue Cross Blue Shield are having a
big fight,
dispute over terms and conditions and payments.
Right. And we don't use Blue Cross Blue Shield, so we're okay.
So there's the entire county. I don't know if it's been settled as of today.
No, it hasn't been settled as of today, and supposedly they have until the 9th to resolve it. Now, they've been negotiating for 2 years.
Let's not rush anything.
Yeah. And what happens is, if they can't reach an agreement, all the people in central Yavapai County who use the Yavapai County Regional Medical Center or any of its clinics, and they have gobbled up a lot of clinics, because some of the independent clinics that I used to go to for just imaging and stuff like that, just standard stuff, are all part of them now. So they're like a vacuum. This vacuum goes anyone with Blue Cross Blue Shield will have to
go to another county.
Either go outside this part of the state, or get the fees that they would have for going outside of somebody that's in your system.
Yeah, once you're out of network, then there's some pretty big fees that can add up.
Yeah, they stick it to you. So it was one of those times when I'm like, thank goodness we don't have Blue Cross Blue Shield.
It worked.
It worked. It was way too expensive for us.
You know what?
Yeah, it's time to get going. We're going to eat dinner, and we're going to go to bed early because we're still tired.
Here comes Isa again.
I know, she's been circling us like a vulture.
Say
She's
goodnight,
debating
Irene.
going up on the table again. She knows she's allowed on the back of the sofa, but not on the table, so she's walking along the back of the sofa.
Say goodnight, Irene.
So be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because we're going to be doing a ton. I've got a list a million miles long of stuff that should be pretty exciting that'll be happening in the next week or so. So until then, bye.
Bye. Keep brainstorming.
Yeah, obviously we do. And we make lists too. Lots of